There's a stretch of rural Pennsylvania where the trees grow too close to the road and the radio goes dead without warning. Truckers call it the blind strip. Locals avoid it after sundown. No one remembers when the church appeared. There, it doesn't show up on GPS. It doesn't have a name. It just hums. On the night of October 13th, 2025, 4 strangers received identical hand-delivered invitations with no return address. Each card was black, with red inked lettering that shimmered under the light like fresh blood. You are invited to at midnight service. Address unlisted. You will find your way. Do not bring phones. Do not be late. You will be rewarded with truth. The recipients were Marcus Ellison, 37, former theology student turned skeptic podcaster; Eliza Brandt, 26, a paranormal TikToker with 2 million followers; Ronnie Valley 55 ex-priest defrocked under mysterious circumstances; Tasha Lynn, 42, mother of a missing boy who vanished near Route 6 last Halloween. None of them knew each other. None of them could explain how. The letters ended up on their kitchen tables, but they all went. Each of them described a pull-a compulsion that overrode fear, logic, and every survival instinct they had. As the clock struck 11:45 p.m., they parked beside each other in a gravel lot that hadn't existed an hour earlier. The church stood before them like it had been built by someone who had only heard what churches looked like but never actually seen one. The cross was upside down. The stained glass writhed faintly, like the scenes inside were still happening. A low hum vibrated the bones in their chests. It was the sound of something, remembering the door opened on its own when they approached. No one touched it. No wind moved it. It simply invited them in with a sound that was less creak, more exhale, like something inside had been holding its breath for centuries. The moment Marcus stepped over the threshold, his podcasting set faltered. His phone, despite being powered off and left in his car, began to scream from the glove compartment, a digital screech like a tortured choir, rising into static. Then silence. The 4 looked at each other. Eliza filmed everything on her camcorder, an old DV model she brought to avoid the invitations. No phones rule. She whispered commentary, trying to steady her voice for her audience, but the camera kept cutting to static every time she pointed it at the altar. Ronnie, the defrocked priest, froze at the entrance. His eyes darted around the nave. "This place is wrong," he muttered. "It's built backward. The pulpit should face east. This is facing northwest. That's..." He didn't finish the sentence. Tasha barely listened. She was staring at the pews. Each pew had a name carved into the backrest, not painted, not engraved, but gouged violently, as if by fingernails or broken teeth. The 4th pew from the front had her son's name, Noah Lynn. Her legs gave out. She crumpled to the floor, trembling. "He's here," she whispered. "He's in this building." Eliza lowered her camera. "What do you mean?" "He carved his name. I know his handwriting. I taught him how to spell it." Ronnie stepped forward and saw his own name on the 5th pew. So did Marcus and Eliza. Each pew empty, wooden, splintered, and bleeding sap bore the name of someone inside the church. Ronnie gritted his teeth. "This isn't a service. It's a ritual." That's when the door slammed, shut behind them, and the hum rose to a chant. The chant was unlike any music born of human throat. It rose from beneath the floorboards and leaked from the rafters. Not a melody, not even a language, just a low, wordless drone like 1,000 voices humming in unison through stitched-shut mouths. Marcus clutched his chest. "This isn't sound," he gasped. "It's inside me. I feel it in my bones." The air had grown thick. It pressed down on their lungs, syrupy and hot, though the church itself remained freezing cold. Breath steamed visibly, curling toward the high arches like smoke toward a forgotten god. Tasha staggered toward the pulpit, desperate to see behind the altar. If Noah's name is here, he's here somewhere, maybe in A. But before she reached the front, The choir began, from behind the walls, from under the pews, from the ceiling. Eliza aimed her camera upward and screamed. Above them, embedded into the high vaulted ceiling, were faces. Hundreds, pressed into the plaster like wet clay, wide-eyed, lidless, and screaming silently. Their mouths gaped open, and from their hollow throats the humming grew louder. No, clearer. The hum began to form syllables, then words. He who sits above the altar will swallow the names. The light bulbs exploded, one by one, sparks showering the aisle. Total darkness fell. Eliza's camcorder was the only light, casting its eerie beam across the now warped room. The pews had shifted. The aisle was gone, and now, in the front of the church, stood a figure, cloaked in centuries of soot and wax, its face hidden beneath a broken porcelain mask. No eyes, no mouth, only cracks. And from behind the mask, the humming continued. Marcus stepped forward, trembling. I think that's the pastor who disappeared in 1893, he whispered. The figure slowly raised a hand, pointing directly at Tasha. Then it spoke in its mouth. Return the dead to their seats. And behind them, the pews creaked open, welcoming. Tasha screamed and turned to run, but her feet refused. It was like the air itself had thickened into glue, anchoring her to the rotting floorboards. Eliza, still filming, caught it all her own breath, ragged, the camcorder trembling in her grip. The thing stood perfectly still at the altar, but its presence was suffocating, like it was unfolding into the room, pushing out through dimensions the human brain couldn't perceive. Then the cracks in the mask began to widen. With a splintering snap, a long fracture split across its porcelain surface. From inside spilled not blood, not flesh, but darkness. A wet, slithering shadow poured through the fracture like ink spilled from a living wound. Marcus turned to Eliza. Kill the light. Just shut it off now. No, we'll be blind. Trust me. She flicked off the camcorder's light. Everything plunged into inky black. And for a moment, everything stopped. No humming, no creaking, just breathless silence. Then the whispers began. Not one voice, many. They came from inside the walls, from the floor beneath them, even inside their own heads. He took our names. We were never born, never buried. He writes them backward, so we can't escape. You shouldn't have come here. Suddenly, the camcorder flicked on again by itself. The light cast its flickering beam directly onto the altar. Father Venn was gone. In his place was the ledger, the ancient book, open, waiting. Its pages were blank except for the bottom corner, where a fresh name had just appeared, burned into the paper. Marcus Raven, 12:06 a.m. No. Marcus backed away, stumbling over a warped pew. That's not possible. It's not my time. But the church had begun to shift again. The walls pulsed. The floor undulated like a belly, breathing under rotted skin, and from the pews they rose. The unnamed dozens of silhouettes, translucent, leaking soot and fog. Their faces were smoothed, over-erased like smudged charcoal. Each had a gaping wound where the mouth should be. Stretched open in a frozen scream, they moved toward Marcus in a slow, synchronized glide, arms extended not to harm the claim. Tasha grabbed the camcorder from Eliza's hands and shone the light on the ledger. What if we burn it? She whispered. If we burn the names, maybe they go free. Eliza stared at her. And if we're wrong, Tasha gritted her teeth, then we'll be next in line. She ripped a half-melted candle from the wall, its flame flickering low, jammed it into the spine of the book. The moment the fire touched the ledger, the screaming started. Not from the specters, from the church itself. The rafters buckled. The stained glass windows shattered inward. Blood-real blood dripped from the ceiling beams. The pews burst into flame, but the figures didn't burn. They stood still, watching, waiting, because now, something was coming down the aisle. Something. Massive dot, something with no face, but too many mouths. The floor trembled beneath their feet as the massive shape emerged from the shadows of the nave. It was impossible to tell where it began or ended, as if the church itself had taken on a monstrous life. Its body was woven from splintered wood, stained glass shards, and dripping candle wax, all fused into a grotesque, living armor. Countless mouths lined its twisted frame, each opening wide to emit tortured screams and sinister laughter simultaneously. The faceless entity moved forward, swallowing the flickering flames of the burning pews as if they were mere candlelight. Elisa held up the camcorder, trying to capture every horrifying detail, but the feed glitched violently, distortion obscuring most of the creature. Tasha gripped Marcus's arm, her voice barely a whisper. "We have to get out now." But the church had no doors anymore. The walls rippled, sealing every exit, like a living membrane. The monstrous figure raised a hand, ending in countless serrated claws that scraped the floor like 1,000 knives. It spoke not with words, but, through the shrieks echoing in their minds, "You summoned me. You broke the silence. You opened the wound. Now I feast." The unnamed specters from the pews joined in a chorus of piercing shrieks, their forms dissolving into black mist that spiraled around the giant, feeding it life. Marcus stumbled backward, tripping over a fallen beam. The camcorder's light flickered out. Darkness swallowed them all. When the rescue team arrived at dawn, the church was gone, not burned, not collapsed, simply vanished, as if it had never been in the gravel lot. All that remained was a single black card, the invitation. No names, no address, just the faintest shimmer of red ink, still warm to the touch. The camcorder's memory card was found buried beneath a nearby oak tree. When played, the video shows nothing but static, until, at exactly 12:06 a.m., a face slowly materializes in the screen. Static, a face with eyes black as void, lips sewn shut. A voice whispers from the speakers, "You are next, speakers, you are next."